Joining me now is Associate Professor of Surgery and Pediatrics at George Washington University, Dr. Evan Nadler. Doctor, thank you for your time. What do you make of this breaking news from Spanish health officials that they now have a citizen? Does that change the risk factor here at all in your eyes?
Good morning, Marky. Thanks for having me. The issue is whether there is really significant human-to-human transmission. And someone testing positive sort of later in this phase of the passengers being repatriated does suggest that this Spanish citizen was exposed on the ship and did contract the disease on the ship. However, that doesn't really change the calculus, which is that close, prolonged contact is what's needed for human-to-human transmission. So as long as you're not, sharing a cabin or sharing a closed space with someone who's been exposed or infected, then your personal risk is still very, very low.
Yeah. Let me play some sound because doctors leading that team at Emory University just held the press conference on Monday. Let's take a quick listen to what they said just about knowing how to handle an outbreak like this.
It is not a novel pathogen. It is very difficult to spread. This is a different strain. So we have Hantavirus in the United States. It is a different strain of that. And this Hantavirus, the Andes virus, is the only strain that is person to person. But again, very difficult to spread. It is close contact with bodily secretions or respiration, sharing things intimately, toothbrush, etc. And so this is very different than a respiratory virus, and that's what I really would like to get across, and I appreciate that. We want people to understand we know this virus, it's not novel, and we know what we need to do.
Yeah, Dr. Nadler, just to the point that you were making and just that sound there, I think the thing that I keep harping back on is if it's so difficult to spread, I mean, surely all these 11 cases weren't sharing and in contact with each other's bodily fluids and toothbrushes, right? I mean, so how do we explain that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And what's somewhat difficult to know is what the actual initial exposures were and how many people on the ship were exposed to those primary exposures. But as the Emory officials said, this is a pathogen that's been around, and there are only less than 900 cases in the United States that have ever been documented. So it is difficult to spread. People should still obviously be concerned and should pay attention and monitor themselves for symptoms should they have been in contact with someone from the ship. But the likelihood, again, of a human-to-human transmission is so low that if your exposure is just in your day-to-day business, the need for concern, while it's still there, shouldn't be too significant.
Okay. Symptoms of Andes virus, we're told, can appear anywhere between 4 and 42 days after exposure. That's a massive window. Does that make, we know all this, global tracing is happening right now. Does that make that essentially just a guessing game at this point?
It certainly makes it more difficult to track. And it is unclear whether it's a week or 8 weeks, the incubation period for the Andes virus or the Andes strain of the Hantavirus in any particular individual. And that's why the officials have to be diligent, and it's why the suggested home isolation or quarantine period is as long as it is because it can be out to 8 weeks. So I'd like not to call it necessarily a guessing game, since we know it's somewhere in that 2-month period. But yeah, it makes it definitely more difficult than a typical, or when we were dealing with COVID 6 years ago, sure, when it was 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. Lastly, before I let you go, what will you be watching for just over the coming days in the next few weeks that would make you reclassify this from a low-risk scenario to something more alarming than what it is now?
Yeah, certainly if more people test positive. And, obviously, as you brought up, the Spanish citizen who tested positive sort of this late after leaving the ship certainly makes us more aware and more concerned. But I think the thing to look forward moving forward is just how many more people test positive, or is this really just going to be isolated to the number that we're getting right now?
Dr. Evan Nadler, thank you for your time and expertise, sir. Greatly appreciate you.
My pleasure. Anytime.
On an early Tuesday morning. By the way, everybody,